Hey everyone, welcome to Zeitgeist Zealots. I'm Forrest.
I'm the master of puppets pulling your strings. But you can also call me Major if you want to.
And I'm Robbie.
Matt, actually here for an intro for once.
Yeah.
Hey.
You know, Robbie, you're hungry. Hungry for a pizza. Not the Stranger Things pizza, though. But we will be talking about Stranger Things. It's a special.
But also, Stranger Things been sponsoring Domino's, and I ordered with my mind.
Which was also around in the 80s. So, like, you know, nostalgia factor there.
Oh, yeah, they've been doing, like, their 80s style pizza boxes. Right?
Guys, there's a pizza reference somewhere in here. Oh, say hi to 11 when you go pick up your pizza. Boom, I got it. Nailed it.
Yeah. So Robbie, how do you order with your mind on the Domino's? How'd that work?
I don't know if they're just referring to the app. Yeah, because it's saying mind ordering, but I guess they're just talking about ordering online.
Just using your fingers.
Okay,
like touching it. That's not mind ordering.
See, I thought it was like, you know, I thought it'd be like Metal Gear Solid 1, like PlayStation.
Wait, it says download the mind ordering app. There's another app.
I thought it was gonna be like they just look at your.
So you can explore Hawkins' lab. Okay, it's like a little interactive, like.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. I see. I thought they would like look at your order history and like guess what you would want. Like, do you want a thin crust pepperoni? How did you know?
It's the first mobile ordering app of its kind. Look, Rob, if you download this and you get a free pizza, let me know.
I bet the Devil Brothers
As a side note,
have.
we are always looking for sponsors.
Yeah, sponsors.
Oh, that's true.
Domino's.
So Domino's.
I am a huge fan of Domino's.
Oh, dude,
Papa John's sucks.
You know how excited I was?
Tell everyone about it.
I was so excited when I found out there was a Domino's being built directly down the street from me.
Yeah, you know what they should do is Domino's should like rebrand all their pizzas Surfer Boy pizza, or like maybe have like a Surfer Boy brand with just like, you know, like what's the pizza they make?
Pineapple
makes.
Yeah,
pineapple, banana, pepper. They should like make 3 special pizzas like the Argyle would make. Call them like Surfer Boy pizzas.
On the app on the website they have avoid the Noid, call Domino's Pizza, and it says this message brought to you by the Hawkins Police Department. And avoid the Noid, that's an old campaign from like the 90s.
And they're bringing it back.
They brought it back recently though, a few years ago.
You know why they got rid of it?
Why?
It's a super interesting story. I don't remember the details, so don't quote me on it, but there's some Domino's delivery driver employee's last name was Noid, and he became paranoid, and he thought the entire company was saying not to hang out with this guy Noid, and he had like some mental issues, and he brought a gun to like a store. No. So it doesn't end well, but like so they canceled the Noid for like 20 years.
Noid.
Yeah.
You know,
but it's back now.
And on a happier note,
wow.
If you were back in the Blockbuster days, when Nintendo was still out, you could rent a Noid game where literally it was just you jumping on pizza boxes for 3 hours.
First time I heard the Noid was on Family Guy, and I did not know it had anything to do with Domino's. I was like,
classic
what's this
Family Guy using an old ass reference that only 10% of the population is going to get.
It just shows you that nothing is safe from being referenced on Family Guy.
I don't totally understand a lot of their references, but they just make it so funny anyway.
Oh god, what was the one with the jelly? And they
and like Family's got like
they explain the joke.
Since y'all are all 14, we explain.
Aren't you glad I explained that?
And then they do the joke later. They repeat the joke later on, and they're like, "Aren't we glad you explained it?" And dude, I cried laughing.
Oh, dude, I thought that was
so well done. And
that actually made it even better.
Yeah.
At first, you're like, "What the hell?" And then it's just so funny later.
The worst, not the worst one, but probably like the most obscure one they ever did was like the Hudson brothers. And like Quagmire was like, I hope Hudson's
that was
ready.
The worst.
I know, but I was just like, it shows you like that show's like on the air for maybe like a year, and like a year in the 70s, and there's like a 5-minute intro, and he's like, Kate Hudson. He's like, you mean the Hudson brothers? Who are they? Oh, we have a short clip. It's like 5 minutes long.
It's so long. And then they do it again. And then they're about to do it a third time. And you're like, oh, don't click. We're going to go ahead and cut the commercial. Like, we're not going to do this for another 5 minutes.
Yeah.
All right,
but Stranger Things.
You guys do most of the talking anyway.
Yeah. So, Stranger Things.
I just want some pizza.
No, I already had Papa John's today. Which is also free to sponsor us.
Just you.
On a side note, every single night, about 13% of Americans are eating pizza.
Really?
13%, huh?
Yes.
I mean, it's such a clutch pizza. Wait, what's the college population? I feel like that just might be every college student.
Is it higher in states where weed is legal?
I would not be surprised.
Is in Colorado, I'm sure Domino's are busy all the time. Bill Hicks had made a joke like, we should make weed legal across the country and then invest in Domino's, and there'll just be like parades of Domino's going across the country, because they're franchise. Like, no one's gonna go out because they're high.
Let's talk about Netflix's #1 franchise, and that's Stranger Things. We are joined with us here today, Matt's expert analysis. All right, Cowboy Bebop.
Jupiter's Legacy. You had your shot, but
how much did they spend on the Millerverse? Wasn't it? It was over $100 million, wasn't it?
They thought
haven't seen anything else yet.
Well, they did Jupiter's Legacy, and then they did, I think, Super Crooks. So I think just those two shows. But apparently they were like going to do. They probably still are going to do. I don't know. Since Jupiter's Legacy sort of bombed, but they thought they were going to have. They thought we had their own MCU with the Miller World stuff, and only Kick-Ass is the only good thing he's written that's not Marvel or DC.
American Jesus is still in production.
First off, Jupiter's Legacy and Jupiter's Circle are great comic books.
Oh, okay.
They are really well written, and they both have 2 great volumes. However, Netflixed it up.
Yeah,
now I'm worried about Sandman.
I would be too. I don't think they're going to do that very well. But it looks like American Jesus is still in development from the Millerverse, as well as Prodigy, and then perhaps a second season of Super Crooks.
See, the thing about the Miller World stuff is that it's specifically made to be adapted to film. It's not really he's interested in writing good comics. He's just interested in writing things that can be adapted and make him money. Like the Secret Service, he wrote. I think he literally sold the film rights before he published the comic.
Yeah, and he doesn't care, right? Like he's like, you can do whatever you want to after.
He cares about the money. I mean,
yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying. Like he doesn't care. Like you could totally.
He's like the anti
afterwards.
He's very much the anti Alan Moore, in which Alan Moore hates adaptations of his work because he's like, this is what I wanted to do to showcase the comic medium, and Mark Miller's like, adapt anything you want. I'll write just for it to be adapted.
Yeah, so, he's like, if you guys want the source material, you can read the comics. That's only going to get me paid. And if you want, you can pay me for Netflix, and then you guys can do whatever you want to. That's fine too.
I mean, I don't blame him.
Yeah. I mean, here's my thing. Like Alan Moore with a stick up his butt. And I say that with as much reverence as I can for a guy who is
you don't like Alan
crazy.
Moore?
He works.
I love
guy.
Alan Moore.
I know you do. But like, here's my thing. Like, don't sell your IP and then complain about them butchering your IP. Like, if you're that much of a purist, like, I understand. Like, so like he said, like he's never gonna watch any of his adaptations. Like he said he'd never watch The Watchmen.
Well, in those cases, I think in the case of V for Vendetta and Watchmen, he didn't have a choice because DC or Time Warner owns those, or Warner Discovery
but
now.
Aren't you curious to see like what they did with your product, like your property?
Well, I think in the case of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and From Hell, I think he did have some say. So I think his names were on those movies, but they were just so awful. He just completely washed his hands of Hollywood after that.
Now it's important to note, Matt, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is actually a phenomenal comic book series run, right?
It's not bad. It's not bad, but and when you have Sean Connery, you're thinking, man, it's gonna be good, but oh man.
Well, the thing about the first one is not very adaptable because it's basically the whole main plot of the first book is a gang war between Professor Moriarty and Fu Manchu in London, and I don't think we could do Fu Manchu.
Welcome to this bonus episode of Zeitgeist Zealots, where we try to talk about everything but the Stranger Things episode.
Yeah. Was there? Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to is there some sort of
Nah, you're gonna have to help us out here. It's all one giant 12-hour movie to me. So, where did we leave off?
Let's just say it this way. This 2.5-hour episode, I both love the concept of having, if you can't fill it, in one episode, just do the whole thing. But I think it's interesting because overall, I both cried and really loved it, but at the same time too, when I sat down afterwards and thought about a few things, I was like, wow, that was actually really bad. So I am very indifferent. I both loved it and hated it. And
all right, well, let's talk about that. I want to break. I want to
they
pick
went
your
full.
mind.
They went full Soldier Boy with Vecna. They just can't kill these guys, but they can throw them out of buildings.
More like Halloween. I think that's a better 80s reference there. 'Cause I think Jason literally gets shot out of a window, and then like you see his dead body, and then when the sheriff comes downstairs, it's disappeared.
That's true, and like Vecna's
so let's talk about
basically
that.
Freddy
Is that
Krueger.
disappointing? Is that disappointing?
Yeah, I thought they would, because now season 5 is going to be Vecna again. It's going to be like, they're just going to...
I think it's going to be Vecna as Tiamat, which is that like 3-headed chimera dragon or whatever that Will draws for Mike. Is it 5 heads?
Yep, Tiamat has 5.
Oh, well, that's way scarier. So I think that's going to be Vecna's quote-unquote final form.
Oh, yeah.
So I will compare 2 things really quick. When Lewis is holding Max, and he's like crying because like he doesn't know whether or not she's dead, and Moby's "If It's Cold Outside I Will Die" is playing, I'm like in tears.
Dude,
because a perfect musical choice. It's a random song from 1994 that I have not listened to that album in like 20 years, but it like fits perfectly. Contrast that with the fact that Sullivan, who was defeated in the previous episode because his helicopter crashed and his Humvees are on fire, is not in the episode at all.
At all. Yeah.
The major guy who is driving your plot line, because we don't even know why he's upset about everything, he just is super evil, is not in the episode at all.
Yeah.
After seeing Surfer Boy Pizza Van drive away from, saying he can't like call up somebody.
He has the full might of the United States military. Yeah.
Like
the
seriously.
full might.
And so this is the writing of this episode. You have these scenes which are phenomenal, and then when you sit down and think about it for more than like 10 seconds, you're like, holy shit, there are some issues with it.
Definitely.
I gotta say, Vecna's, as great as much as I like the Vecna concept, it's like basically like a retooled Freddy Krueger, and like his look and his origin and everything, he has the most generic villain dialogue I have ever heard.
It's so generic.
So no, Vecna is Voldemort, and I don't know much about Harry Potter, but when I saw Vecna, I thought Voldemort.
No nose every time. No nose every time. Bald, evil guy with no nose. You're Voldemort.
Evil guy going after kids in school.
Yeah.
With no nose, and he's very pale.
And he has history with the main kid with powers.
So and he's got magical powers. He's Voldemort. Guys, I'm gonna be open. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be real and honest with you guys. This finale hit hard, and it was blow after blow. Like Eddie died, and I'm like fighting back tears in this room, trying not to cry next to my wife, right? But then Lucas loses it, and then I am right next to him, and it's like a series of just sad things, like people dying in tandem, and it just hits. Like the feels are so good. But how dumb was Eddie's fucking death? I hated that.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Like,
this was such a good season
of
writing, but that's always the dumbest way to kill someone off, and this was especially true here.
So
he didn't have to leave. He didn't have to leave.
You're crying, but once again, this is exactly what I said. When you think about it for more than 10 seconds, like, why did he leave the trailer?
Yeah.
Also, why did they have to play the guitar on top of the trailer and not behind the gates that they already had?
Especially with speakers outside.
Eddie's too metal. Eddie's too metal not to do it, not to put a show on top. I see what you're saying. It looks cool, but I also think the character himself is still in high school. He's still like a third-year senior. He's a metal god. I would put on a metal concert too if I was 19 years old. I would totally
once you have
Master of Puppets that.
Distracted. What's the point of keeping them distracted?
Oh, I wouldn't have finished the guitar solo. I would have bitched out way faster as soon as they got closer.
I do appreciate.
I'm out.
Also, I think if you time the actual scenes of when the 3 characters are going to attack Vecna, it is a 45-minute difference between when they first start getting choked by those squelching.
Yep.
I love whoever did the subtitles. I love him because he was definitely trolling. Because we watched the subtitles and he used some very amazing words. But when the tendrils are choking them, it is 43, 44 minutes until they're not being choked anymore. And I know it's, we don't know the actual timeline.
Right,
but,
like things are happening at the same time.
But still, it was really poorly done, I feel.
And you can make the argument that like maybe Vecna wasn't concentrating on them because he was fighting 11, but yeah,
still choking out. I liked the idea of a full frontal assault. 4 teams doing 4 different things. Even though the Russian team was stupid, I really enjoyed that C plot.
Yeah.
Or no, B plot, because Mike
it's a Q
Will,
plot.
that was
awful.
awful.
It is a Q plot.
Yeah. But they did absolutely nothing. They killed some demi-dogs or Demigorgon or 2. Also, like, shout out to Hopper. Can we talk about Hopper's amazing weight loss?
Oh yeah.
Can we also talk about the fact that Hopper broke his ankle and ran through snow, so obviously has frostbite, yet is a perfect fighter.
He closed the Demigorgon's mouth with his hands like a crocodile.
Oh yeah, and I don't know where the sword came from. I guess like one of the other prisoners had it.
And
the Conan sword.
Fun Easter egg fact: that's Conan the Barbarian's sword, which was completely breaking. Like that completely broke the story for me. This high fantasy, strange fiction set in the 80s with Russian communists setting up a mall under Hawkins, Indiana. Like the story got broke when they brought Conan Barbarian's sword into it. I was like, what? What's the point of that? I think someone online pointed out the 80s references are definitely here this season, but they're not in your face. What do you guys think about that?
Well, the Conan one was.
I agree. It's a lot more subtle. Like you have to really look for the references, whereas like literally last season, Hopper's dressed up like Miami Vice.
Terminator,
right. Yeah, the Ghostbusters, right, from like season 1 when they're like it's like they're in your face. But then like, some like Kate Bush running up the hill, Metallica, Master of Puppets. I mean, these are phenomenal songs from the 80s, but not necessarily like the song you would think of that's the most 80s.
Yeah. And as a side note, the local the local radio here, 106.5, has been playing that song every hour on top of the hour. It's almost disgusting.
Master of Puppets? Or Run Up the Hill?
Running Up the Hill.
Really?
It topped Apple's charts. It brought a huge resurgence back to it. My dad had never heard that song before.
Both on Spotify and Apple, both of those songs are like number 1.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if they were playing Master of Puppets on the classic rock station. Or at least what's the main rock station? I guess 106.5. I mean, Master of Puppets. I think.
No, when you hear Master of Puppets on the ride. Yeah. We're going with some local references here. 95.7 The Ride. Let me know when you hear some Metallica on there.
Look at 95.7
The Ride. You have to get the whole motor.
The
Ride, motherfuckers.
So to get back to it, the issue that I bring up is this show has you crying and totally sympathizing with the characters and being invested. But when it's over and you think about it for more than a few minutes, it's easily, like you can poke all these issues into it. And honestly, I think the issue is that the writers wrote themselves into a corner and had to try to just end it. Because the whole Russia thing, if they had just done that in 3 or 4 episodes, they could have found, a way to tie that in better. The whole California crew literally was just like, how do we get them involved? Oh, let's find a pizza joint that Argyle knows. And
that was fun. I enjoyed it. It was dumb, but it was fun.
It's fun, but it's like, oh shit, we've been investing in these characters for 8 episodes now. How are they going to get to Hawkins?
They can't.
They can't. So let's just have them go get this dude high and put him in, put her in this bath. It's frustrating because it feels like what George R.R. Martin does. We were just talking about this in our last episode. He has so many different threads, and the issue is it's like, hey, that's great, but how do you tie them all together? And I feel like they couldn't do it, so they panicked. And the last hour of this episode is a huge panic. And you can tell that because every single main character in the last hour of this episode has a monologue.
That's very true. And And not only is this, I don't think this is just like some kind of crazy conspiracy or even a rational conspiracy. Like this is a fact. Like they were still uploading visual effect shots the day it came out, July 1st. So like if you had watched like if you'd watched the episodes as soon as they dropped, like it was still incomplete from a visual effects point of view, which is crazy.
And shout out to Netflix, because they have created a phenomenon so big that it actually crashed Netflix for several hours when it was released.
And they really needed a win after their stock prices.
Watch them not like take advantage of this at all, right? This will not be reflected in the share price and their earnings. Like I think they accidentally made the right decision here by splitting up the season because they had to, right? Mm-hmm. But this, I mean, to be, a part of the Zeitgeist, right? You can tweet us on Twitter at Zealot Podcast. Part of the Zeitgeist is to do it on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I mean, that would definitely like boost up their numbers, and it's like one of the things that they're known for, releasing everything once, is like one of the things that's hurting them. But I think they are going to unveil.
I completely disagree with you, gentlemen. Okay. What I hate the most, I love Amazon Prime, but what I hate the most is that I literally have to wait a week to watch an episode of The Boys. And that draws up this fervor of like, hey, what's the going this? I love the fact that I can still go to Netflix and binge watch a show. Because at the end of the day, I'm getting older. I'll maybe watch 2 or 3 1-hour episodes once the kids go to bed. I'm not going to watch it all in one night.
Right.
But that's what I've always loved about Netflix. And I think if they go away from that model, it'll only hurt them. What's attractive about Netflix is, hey, we're dropping half a season of a show.
Or a whole season.
Hey, we're going to drop the whole season. And I have no problems with it being a month difference. What I have problems with is like AMC having a 5-week break before we can watch Better Call Saul tonight.
Oh yeah, that's why I wanted to finish before 9. Thanks for reminding me.
So that's a really great point, Matt. And I do think like Netflix has like, if they continue sticking with the dump model, right, the binge content, then they'll have like a niche part of the market. Because like, for instance, like on Hulu, 2nd season of Only Murders in the Building. Phenomenal show. Absolutely love that show, right? But it comes out once a week, right? And it's killing me. I want to consume it all, right? Because they're just 20, 22, 25-minute episodes. And they're so charming and delightful. And they're easy to consume. Like, you just sit down and it'd be an excellent use of your Saturday if you binge like the entire season. And I would love to be able to do that, but I gotta watch it one episode at a time. However, I think that delayed gratification really works well in stuff like The Boys or something like Stranger Things. I see what you're saying, man. I completely agree. I think like most things in life, the solution lies somewhere in the middle, in a compromise, right? So like maybe some things, some shows like, you have to drop them.
I love how they dropped the first 7 episodes, and then they held up on the last 2. I have no problems with that because it kind of built up that fervor.
I think it was a good point.
I could not go 10 weeks of us talking about one episode and then like waiting for the next episode, especially with this type of show.
With Stranger Things? Oh no, I feel like
Stranger Things, like I love watching.
Crafting would be so good though. Like what's gonna happen next?
Instead of just already getting the ending before you can chat about it.
But what I love too is that debate you have with your wife, and you're like, oh my god, it's 1:00 in the morning. Do we watch the next episode? That's kind of fun.
Is that a debate, or is that just a look? Do you just look to your right, and she just like looks to her left, and then you guys just hit the next button?
Both wanting each other to convince the other.
We've consistently made poor decisions in our life, so what's one more?
Right?
You just do a full Walter White impression, like we're done when I say we're done.
And it's fun, right? And that's part of the culture that we live in, this content consumption culture, right? Which I'm not even ragging about because we have a podcast, right? And not just that, but this is the bonus episode of our podcast, right? so we're dropping it back to back, so you have more content consume. and this isn't gonna be staggered by week. This is gonna come out right afterwards, right? So
I know.
call us a bunch of hypocrites or not. Tweet at us if you're gonna call us hypocrites. Just do it in a tweet if you don't mind.
Normal people struggle on whether or not they're gonna watch another episode. And we had to struggle on whether or not to record another episode right away. So.
There's just so much good TV out there, or we can talk.
I know.
About
I'm
it
disappointed, Matt, that you've been watching Better Call Saul this whole time. We could have been discussing on the podcast, and I'm just not learning that you've been watching.
I feel like we're the only two watching it right now. I don't know why, because it is such a great show.
Yeah,
and it's such a departure from Breaking Bad.
I should start it.
Well, this last season's, is definitely embracing the darkness.
In that last episode, where they left off 5 weeks ago, like it made me want.
That made me so mad because someone spoiled it in a thumbnail on YouTube. I was like, that can't be real. Like
dude,
literally the day of it came out.
Luckily, I saw The Boys like the night of Thursday instead of that morning.
Shout out to Matt in the text group.
Yeah, telling us that.
I've been telling y'all
in the bed, checking my phone for messages right before I go to bed, and he was like, they dropped The Boys early. And I just literally without even looking up at my phone, just turned around from my stairs and started walking back to my television. And I was like, I guess we're doing this.
I went ahead and watched it too.
I've let y'all know.
Next morning, I'm scrolling through YouTube, and it's like they're putting just straight spoilers, right?
Spoilers at the very beginning. It's like Master Chief has sex. Master Chief loses his virginity. I'm sorry, it still just pisses me off. Like that's how I had to find out.
That's especially the Halo series. Exactly why I didn't watch the Halo series was because of all the spoilers. Literally, I just was watching other things, and then the next morning Twitter would blow up. And it's like, well, now I know the whole plot.
Chief's
so I don't have
naked. I'm out.
Master Cheeks.
That's how
Master
everybody
Cheeks.
calls him Master Cheeks now.
Yeah. Well,
he's basically just another Master Chief.
My wife's excited for season 2.
Sadly,
that's all I gotta say.
Sadly, they only call him Master Cheeks because you see his actual face. It's about his face cheeks. So
yeah,
so really quick,
I got it.
We have a 2.5-hour episode, and we're trying to bring all these storylines in. So we have the Russia storyline, which Hopper
was the thinnest,
and Yuri and
thinnest,
what's his name?
The pilot,
what's her name?
And the betraying pilot, and then
they had to find a way to leave.
So we have
airplane crashed.
That group.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that storyline. So I guess
they break.
I enjoyed that whole storyline.
To get captured, to break out of prison again, to break back into prison,
to go back
out of prison.
The whole season, bro. The whole season, they're trying to get Hopper out of jail. And in the last episode, they're like, we have to go back. Like, it's a fucking episode of Lost.
Oh, yeah. There's like Jack just shows up at the end of the episode.
We have to go back.
Hopper, we have to go back.
I will say this. I think I was talking about this last week, too. I love all the aliens references. And it took me a minute to realize that it was Paul Reiser. And I was like, oh, I get it now. And I love all
shout out to Paul Reiser.
Well, the flamethrower was a reference to The Thing with by John Carpenter.
No, when they're growing them in the tubes and the whole
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But I think the flamethrower and like it just being like in a snowy setting was like a reference to The Thing.
Were they growing them or were they preserving them?
It looks like they're preserving them.
Preserving them, yeah.
How do they get so many?
It is the 4th Alien movie, which is Aliens Resurrection, I believe, which has Winona Ryder in it, and that's why they have them in the test tubes. But also in Aliens, they have some of the face huggers stored, and that's a reference to that. So how did they get so many? Well, all of a sudden, this big government that can cut into the gateways is trying to capture them and can prevent them from getting out, which I thought was kind of lame.
Yeah,
I love how it's gone from a very Town Hawkins thing, and now all of a sudden, like last season, what I hated was Russia, and this is what I hated about the writing. Now it's even a bigger Russian conspiracy. Now the government's growing them and trying to use them to attack America or something.
And don't forget that Russia has their own gate to the Upside Down. We saw it last season, remember?
Well, yeah, I mean, they literally have the dust.
They're not supposed to, though. Like, the whole point of them going to Hawkins was that they couldn't open the gate in Russia.
Another Lost reference, the smoke monster.
Right. So
But
let's
how
talk
they
about
get
the
the
smoke monster
Demogorgon?
because that's what I've been wanting to talk about. What are these entities? So like we saw
And how did they get it?
Vecna, aka 001.
One.
Right. Create like just see these swirls of dust particles, which remind me of Prometheus. If we're sticking with the Alien franchise here with this black smoke monster.
Definitely, I got that one too.
Yeah, and then he creates like this spider smoke monster or whatever.
The mind flare.
The mind flare, thank you. But like what is that? That's just like is he just like using pollution to create monsters? Or are these like
Yeah, it
entities?
completely negates the last 2 seasons because I thought the mind flare was a separate entity. But I
It was
guess
like
it was
part
just
of the
being,
Upside Down.
it
It's like
was
his general. I think that's what they said. They said it was his general. Now
they said Vecna was his 5-star general, but I guess they got it reversed.
touche. Yeah, so that was a misnomer because Vecna's not the 5-star general. Vecna is the president, or maybe he is the 5-star.
He was
he's the one in charge.
he was an explorer that kind of took over.
Right.
Is what I got out of his flashback.
So let me ask you this: how much do you think of this was planned in advance?
Oh, this was definitely retcon.
Yeah, definitely.
No.
Most of it was retcon. It was like, how can we make this exciting?
Specifically, some parts I think were retconned. Some parts I think were like done on the spot.
Major.
But
They
I
were
saw
they were vetconned.
Vetconned. Thank you. We
Yeah.
have an episode.
the whole bringing number 1 in there, that might have been planned in advance.
I think that was planned. 'Cause you
Was
don't
it-
call someone 11 without fucking planning to do something with numbers 1 through 10. Whether it's kill them or have them be the bad
Well,
guy.
I don't think they knew that 1 was going to be like the main villain of season 4.
So here's my thing. This was actually just a giant ploy. I saw a recent big shout out to some YouTube short. So sorry you don't get credit because YouTube barely credits you. But if you go back to like the 5-minute 30 mark of the first episode, you see a Vecna-like creature donned in like shadow. You don't see any like details or anything like that. But it looks just like Vecna. And some people have been like,
Just in
yeah,
the
maybe it's a
background
Demogorgon. But every Demogorgon we've ever seen is like super like virile and like bloodthirsty and
hunched
always
over.
attacks people, right? But this shadowy creature that looks like Vecna didn't attack Will on his way home. So I think I just want to point that out because I want to give the Duffer Brothers more credit than I gave them the last episode, that maybe they had some of this planned out. No, you don't think so?
No. Go back to season 2. Or is the end of season 1 or end of season 2? Papa is eaten by a Demogorgon, but we don't actually see him.
He gets killed off camera. Good point. He gets killed off camera.
But come on, like
Yeah.
he's totally dead, and that's why.
And then he
I thought
comes
all the
back.
I thought all the things. So I love Paul Reiser's character, and I thought Nina was gonna like go back in the past, and that's why we have him back. But the fact that
Another-
Papa's actually there and still alive with no
Another
scars,
thing when you
mind
don't actually see them die.
Well,
Yeah,
he does
but
have a
how do you
scar on
not
his
address
face.
being attacked by a Demogorgon?
Yeah, no, trust me.
Well-
Everyone finished that episode thinking Papa was dead. Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Well,
Yeah.
you talk about the end of season 1. where the
Yeah, season 1
Demogorgon-
at the school when the Demogorgons attack, and then right before.
Well, he had a scar on his face, but they could have easily just had a scene where, like, you know, the Demogorgon's about to eat him. Then, like, another like guard like shoots him, and the Demogorgon goes for the
and then he
guard
gets
instead.
carried to a back to tank, and he fully recovers. Yeah,
But
Yeah.
we just
We know what
we just assassinated with a
Goes back to
sniper rifle,
tanks.
but we don't
The book-
actually.
The Book of
Like,
Brenner.
who's to say he's
Major.
dead now? Yeah, seriously.
The Book of Prayer.
Who's to say Papa's actually dead now? Because Sullivan has disappeared. Maybe Sullivan drugged him back and saved his life off screen, so that way we can
Ooh,
have him next season.
Let me ask you this. Did Yoda die in The Empire Strikes Back?
Or did he give? Oh, the Empire Strikes.
Went
Don't
on
you mean?
to the
No,
Don't you mean
no,
like-
he became one with the
Episode
Force.
5?
one
Episode-
with
He
the
became
Force.
he became
Okay,
one
yes.
with the Force.
All right, well then Papa's becoming one with the Upside Down. Did you guys notice that there were some references to The Empire Strikes Back, right? With what's her name? With 11 leaving her training early to go save her friends,
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
right?
Like,
And then the
is that a
old
Star Wars reference?
mentor who teaches her magic dies. Like there's like a. And the only reason like I even thought about this was I was scrolling through my Google cards and I saw a headline that said the Duffer Brothers were referring to season 5 as Return of the Jedi. which I think could be a very exciting twist on, or
they gotta bring Kali back,
tweak on season 5 if they put it through a Return of the Jedi lens. I wouldn't mind that one bit.
Well, basically, like rehashing.
Is that the one who can make people see things?
We have Russia's storyline, which somehow resolves, even though it's nonsensical.
And then we have... Is it resolved? I think they just escaped.
So, no, because they got back, and I'm waiting for my biggest disappointment later. Let's talk about the California
Sex
crew.
With me.
The California crew. They escape after attacking Sullivan and downing his helicopter, and they go to a pizza place where Argyle makes the best pizza ever, and we have Mike's monologue about how he loves her.
I love you, El. I love you. I didn't save the whole season, but I love you, El.
Right. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot we could do this power. It's kind of like that Superman paradox.
Yeah, I forgot.
Where we've given so many powers. We're like, oh yeah, why haven't we been doing this all along? And so we have that crew, and then we have the crew now attacking the Upside Down, and it all comes together. And we all monologue. And
can I get your thoughts on something real fast?
How about that weapon shop scene?
Don't forget Will's monologue about.
I want to talk to you about.
Wait. So I think I said this last week. My wife was like, "Wait a second, you're telling me a bunch of teenagers just went in and got a bunch of knives, explosives, and a gun?" I was like, "Yeah, it was the '80s."
It's the '80s, baby.
And it's like Indiana. I don't know. Probably not the most right-wing state, but definitely,
Yeah, that's definitely hunting season. Definitely hunting season.
Like probably like a rural area like Hawkins, there are probably a lot of right-wing, more conservative thinking people. It's not like in a big city. They're
looking for a guy, and the high school jocks' main idea is to rally all the other jocks and buy guns and shoot them instead of some kind of democratic process of law and order.
He rallied the Klan.
Wait. Another sticking point about lazy writing. We have 10 jocks, and now all of a sudden, in the final one, we have two. We have two.
Two, that's right. I forgot about the one that gets beat up by Luke's sister.
Yep. And then the one that attacks Lucas.
And he gets kicked in the groin, and he's immediately KO'd.
God, dude, what a piece of shit! Like that plan, their plan, the kids' plan almost worked. If Lucas could have put the headphones on Max's head, everything would have worked out fine. It was a brilliant plan, but the jock had to ruin it, and I think that's perfect '80s writing. I think that's '80s writing, like antipathy. Like
I love it too, because this is the whole Karate Kid debate, right? Is the jock wrong? And the reason why I bring up Karate Kid, I do believe in the last scene, head kicks are illegal.
The flying crane is an illegal kick, yes.
Hits him with an illegal kick.
Yep.
So even though we're trying to bring in the whole satanic panic thing, is the jock wrong?
I see where he's coming from.
He's literally wrong because
no. His girlfriend.
He doesn't understand what's happening.
He saw her literally being contorted, like his girlfriend has just been destroyed in the house of one of these, D&D guys.
D&D guys, yeah.
Once again, satanic panic in the 80s is a real thing. So can we blame him for trying to rise up?
No, to a degree, yes, but it's you could say that's like a commentary on today, but this is literally a thing that happened in the 80s. So literally the media has been instilling fear, unrighteous fear, since the advent of 24/7 news cycles or local news.
And no, I will say this. All right, I am a nerd. Not to go full Revenge of the Nerds here. I'm a nerd. All right, and I fucking hate jocks. Without talking about the fact that I played soccer and baseball in high school and
you're a rugby coach.
Okay. But I hate jocks. I hate football and basketball player jocks. The ones who run the school while us nerds get beat up. But even that's what they're playing to, is this whole idea of hey, even though I play athletics, I don't feel accepted in this culture. And so I love how they're doing a very 80s jocks versus nerds thing. And can a nerd be a jock?
Yeah.
I still think it's something we deal with today. Because like I said, I have this podcast and I'm a rugby coach, but I fucking hate jocks.
I also liked how the show like completely casually killed Jason. They split him in half.
Right?
Yeah,
like, I was hoping for much more.
There was no like wonder what happened to him after that happened.
No, dude,
there was like no build up.
Bit.
It's just like, oh, he's dead now, I guess.
So I thought that was a nod to. Have you guys seen the new Ghostbusters?
No, 2016 Ghostbusters or
No.
The masterpiece with Leslie Jones.
The one that just came out.
Oh, with Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd, yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a scene, spoiler alert, where this person wants to raise Zool and Gozer, and he walks up and he's like, I have dedicated my whole life, and Zool splits him in half. And it's the exact same thing that happened to, what's his name? Literally just done. Over with.
Camera just.
It's so funny because, like, you know, Steve Harrington and Billy both had were both bullies and they had like redeeming arcs, but I guess not for this guy.
I mean, Eddie didn't get a redemption arc, and it's almost like it's gotten to the point where it's like cliche now for Stranger Things.
Sucks.
Well, Eddie wasn't a bully.
They introduced. No, sorry, not Eddie. Billy. Sorry, Billy.
Well, Billy.
Max's
he tried to save Max. Billy. He tried to fight. He tried to save. Not save.
Whatever. He was a dick on the basketball court.
But
tried to save his sister.
Do you guys think we're gonna see Billy next season? Like, so Max is probably stuck. So Vecna says to 11 when he kills all the children in the flashback, right? That they're not really dead, that they're still a part of him. So I think a really popular theory.
Maybe they could get him out.
Exactly. So like, how do you close these 4 fucking gateways, right? I think you need to bring Max back to life to close the gateway, and I think you do that by going into her mind or Vecna's mind and freeing her. But I think that would be a really good way for like Max and Billy to reunite.
Max becomes the key. She's disabled, but she's like the key now.
Exactly, because like she's the reason why, like, because she died for a minute, right? And that's what caused the gateways to open. But then she came back to life. But she's in a coma. So I think if they can
actually
steal her soul back from Vecna. Go ahead, Matt.
Funny story about all of this. They had actually planned on killing Max off at the end of the season, but because of fan reaction to her character, that's why they kind of wrote that last scene in where 11 goes into her mind and sees nothing.
Bad decision, do you think, Matt? I think this is a time where you don't listen to the audience.
Well, they already killed Eddie, so
being saved when you're already like snapped up, that's rough.
I think
why kill Eddie?
If you kill her off,
I know.
You finish her story arc though. Like, she was so obsessed about Billy dying, and she even has that monologue about watching her stepbrother die and how she wanted it. And if you kill her off while she's sacrificing herself for everybody else, I feel that like closes her redemption arc. She wanted one person to die, but now she doesn't want everybody else to die. I really feel that.
You know what this reminds me of?
Writing.
This reminds me of Black Widow dying in Infinity War. Like, the wrong call for the right reasons.
Did you guys see that little parody video when Flash gets when Max beats Vecna?
Oh no, I haven't seen it yet.
She has like a suicide vest on. And
No,
like, what are you doing? And they get into that she's a redhead, and redheads don't have souls, so his powers have no effect on her.
That's terrible. I also want to point out I've got some good redhead friends. And ginger bigotry is a real thing. And you fuckers on the internet should cut that shit out. Redheads are real people. Fuck you, South Park. But that's a hilarious joke.
It was a funny episode, but I feel
they
so bad
really open up a can of worms about hatred. Like, and that's just like a really good thing. Like, when you have a platform like that, you have to be careful what you say. Whether you're Nicki Minaj talking about your cousin's best friend's balls, right, or South Park, right? Basically making an entire hair color's high school experience miserable. Like, with great power comes great responsibility. And I'm gonna tie this back into into Stranger Things by asking how excited you guys are about season 5, the finale.
Before we even get to what we expect,
good, because that was a terrible segue.
To address the elephant in the room. The one part of the whole episode that I absolutely fucking hated, and I will draw an F-bomb. I will drop an F-bomb. Even my wife was like, 2 days later.
Is it the Max Will scene in the van?
No, 2 days later.
Okay. The 2 days later. Oh, yeah. What is the point of that?
How did they escape the, upside down 2 days later?
Are you asking for a 4-hour movie here?
How did they get back from Russia?
Are you asking for a 4-hour movie?
So remember, it's such lazy writing. It's such lazy writing.
Yeah, but 2 hours and 15 minutes into it, I'm a lazy watcher.
But the thing is it goes back to the whole idea of they wrote themselves into a corner, they panicked, had to finish, and this is a very D&D thing. And I'm really worried about season 5 when season 4 ends on 2 days later. Everybody's back together. Cool. Oh wait, there's this huge gateway now. Nothing's explained. 2 days later is all we get.
Yeah. Also, don't forget the spores are literally like coming out of the ground and like covering the earth. Like there's that scene where they're on the hills. Like they're on the hill and it looks like part of the hill is like ash, and it just hasn't gotten to like the green part where they're standing at yet. But here's
to get to your question, season 5, they need to address that 2 days later.
Let me ask you this. So I believe if correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone knows, but season 5 is going to be a time skip several years ahead.
Supposedly.
Like 1989.
I don't know how you time skip now with that ending though.
Exactly, that's my thing.
There's
are you gonna let 3 years that gate open? What is gonna be? What is season 5 gonna be like?
Is everybody just used to the giant gate now?
Yeah, I think they don't even taking cues from Endgame. 5 years later.
So true.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they probably need to close that gate pretty quickly since spores are coming out and the real world's becoming the upside down.
Right, and we saw with Hopper in season 2, those spores can negatively affect a person's health. He gets sick from them. So it's definitely a big issue. My thing is though, they can't effectively or quickly close that gate with a time jump. Unless they open up and they're like, we closed it last year, and that's dumb.
Exactly. They have a
little flashback of them doing it.
That's what's going to be. They're going to jump 5 years into the future and be like, hey, I remember 11 went all badass and did her power, and it just closed. But now they're starting to reopen.
Oh, that would piss off so many people.
So many people.
But how else do you fucking write that though?
So let me ask you this.
I'm sorry to drop F-bombs.
Unless they don't start with a time jump. They have a little episode or 2 of something, and then they think it's over, but it's not.
Oh, so they pick up immediately where they left off, and then episode 2 or 3 is 5 years later.
I can see that's the only way I could think of them doing it.
Oh,
well, that would require them to actually film scenes now, and then continue filming season 5 a year down the road. So unless we have
those kids are gonna
I got a question for you guys.
Well, the CGI was really good. They made the flashbacks with Fat Hopper. That was all CGI because he had lost all that weight.
So I have a comment about the CGI, but I want to hear Robbie's question.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So do you think next season it's going to be them versus Vecna, or is Vecna going to have another monster show up that he creates?
I hope there's another new monster.
I think it's going to be Tiamat. I think it's going to be on the nose Tiamat.
Okay.
So Robbie, what about the other children?
The dead ones?
The one that one killed.
Do you think?
So
they're going to be a part of him.
They bring
2, 3,
back
4,
the
5, 6,
jock?
7, 8, 9.
Oh, and
10,
Billy and
15,
all them.
16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Are they going to show up because they have been transported to the upside down because one is slowly pulling them in? Or my other theory would be, what about the people he killed to make the gateways, are they now like lieutenants? And so you have to go through all the lieutenants to get to the general.
If
Bring back
Nancy
all these
has
other
to kill
actors.
Barb, I will lose it.
Dude, I would love to
who-
have Barb back so bad.
If Nancy has to kill Barb to get to Vecna, I would lose it. That would be
She was
so
just
good.
she was just trying to help out her friend and drive her home.
Yeah.
So the point I have to make is overall the CGI is phenomenal. However, throughout the season, whenever somebody has been Vecna crushed,
Mhm.
the CGI has been horrible. It is some of the goofiest fucking
Ooh,
CGI
I thought the
have
first
seen.
one looked really good, but that it might just be me being taken by surprise that they did that. But I agree, it went downhill after the
rewatch
first
it.
one.
Watch especially the scene in which he kills his mother and then his sister. It is so comically bad. It's like
Oh
did
yeah,
the
no,
budget,
the mom's bad.
Did
the mom's
did the
is
budget run out?
bad. Yeah.
But even the newspaper nerd kid is bad.
Yeah, that's
But
who I
the
thought you were
most
talking about on the
atrocious
road.
One, no, the most atrocious
yeah.
one is the jock on the lake. Rewatch
Oh,
the
yeah.
jock on the lake and see how they try to hide it with how dark the scene is, but it is so
Pulling
bad.
old Game of Thrones, I see. Try to hide the
So-
CGI in the dark.
Lower the lighting.
Yeah. Like they can't complain if they can't see.
So, season 5. Nancy and Jonathan or Nancy and Steve? What do you guys want?
Well, I think because
Neither.
the show is being so progressive, they're going to be in a polyamorous relationship.
Yeah,
Because
this
we
show's
already-
not that progressive. But I would love a.
That's basically what Wolverine, Cyclops, and Jean Grey are doing in the comics.
I mean, like, I don't mind like a progressive relationship, except Jonathan's just such like a wet rag.
Well, they're like a couple in real life.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh really?
She and Nancy, or I don't know the actor's
Where is the
names.
chemistry? Wait, Nancy and Jonathan or Nancy and Steve?
Nancy and
Don't even
Jonathan
have to
are a
ask.
couple
Where
in real
is
life.
the chemistry on scene? Like, where is the chemistry on my television set?
I don't know. But
He's gotta stay
But to be fair, maybe
Be
Jonathan was just
awkward.
playing the perfect stoner because that kid was high the entire season.
yeah. Well, apparently the actor's got in trouble with drugs before, and I think he's been arrested.
Oh, that's probably not the storyline I would have written that character then, unless he was a method actor.
That is kind of funny because in season 3, I think he had trouble getting back in the U.S. because of his drug charges. But and then in season 4, he's a stoner.
So yeah,
Major, go ahead.
Matt. No, you go ahead, Matt. I was just gonna.
I'm just gonna
ramble
say,
about the dumb ending with the cabin. Versus cabin.
To wrap it up, I kind of think, and actually that's a great point. It's a great show that is both really well written, but at the same time too really poorly written. And I go back to the fact that I said all of us cried at certain scenes. And if you didn't say you weren't trying to tear up in front of your wife, you're lying. So we have great writing there, but there is very inconsistent at times and very written into a corner issues that the show has to address in the 5th season. And the whole ending at the cabin with everybody lovey-dovey
Mhm.
is I felt kind of like an insult. And so that's what frustrated me the most about this last episode was you're trying to say you didn't write yourself in the corner and you're not just winging it at this point, but to end it on the whole, oh, we're in a cabin, we're trying to make it good again and start all over. But no, the gateways are open.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah,
And
this
I
is
think you nailed it, right? That's Stranger Things, right? Like, Stranger Things at its essence, at its core, is an okay story about amazing people that we've fallen in love with over the last 4 seasons, right? Like,
That's true.
I could watch an entire show where Steve and his BFF, what's her name?
Robin.
Robin.
Thank you. Where Steve and Robin run a blockbuster. Like, that would have been so much fun. Like these characters, you love them. And they just happen to have some really interesting stuff happen around them.
only if it's a haunted blockbuster like in South Park. Like it was like Luis, I can't find Weekend at Bernie's. Like, oh, haha. Blockbusters is so old, it's haunted. I get it. Ha ha ha. Here's the episode.
No,
Randy buys a Blockbuster. It's basically a parody of The Shining.
Wait. What season is this? Randy buys a Blockbuster? That has to be an amazing episode. All right, I'm gonna go watch that. Randy buys a Blockbuster. That should be what the episode's called.
It's a parody of The Shining, where basically the Blockbuster's haunted. There's ghosts.
No, that sounds amazing.
And ghosts. And other ghosts are trying to find rented movies. He's like, oh, ha ha, I get it. Blockbuster's so old. There's ghosts in it.
I would love to see these characters time jump into the early 90s, and they just all got out of college, and just seeing like kind of a Reality Bites type show.
What if they pull an It and we just see all the adult versions in present day? And they have to go back to Hawkins.
It number 2 was horrible, even though I wanted it to be so good.
But the book is good though.
The pitch meeting, Forrest just had the pitch right there.
But the book.
Yeah, it's so good.
They're all adults in 2022.
Yeah. I had an idea.
Yeah.
You go ahead 5 years, right? And then the last season of Stranger Things isn't about the 80s, it's about the 90s.
Thank you.
That would be fun. That would be the
That's
refreshing
exactly
taste you need. It's no longer about Blockbuster, or it's no longer about Ghostbusters, but it's about Nirvana, right?
It's
about Power Rangers, Jurassic
It's
Park.
about TGIF, Family Matters. They're making Steve Urkel jokes.
I don't know what else in the 90s. I guess they can do Vanilla Ice.
MC Hammer, 1990. Not the weird transition from the late 80s to early 90s is very interesting. So you have bands
they haven't even
Jane's
touched
Addiction
disco.
Jane's Addiction, who comes out in 88. Soundgarden, who actually come out in 89. You have all these weird bands. Faith No More, 88. These weird transition from hair metal to alternative, and then from alternative to grunge. You could address that.
Matt, at the beginning of this statement, I wanted that. But now the more I think about it, I really want to see some disco Stranger Things.
No.
When did the
we've seen the rollerblade. We went to the rollerblade. We got the carry. I would love to see some disco.
I will say this. Hulu recently had a show about the Sex Pistols that I was really, really excited about, because I love the whole idea of late 70s punk that emerged.
Yeah.
And the show is fairly disappointing.
I think that's almost disrespectful.
10 years if we jump 10 years in the future and cover the punk scene somehow, I think that would be awesome. It turns out Nancy's parents were really punk rockers in 76 instead of disco lovers. I would love that.
That'd be fun.
Well, they could do a prequel of Hopper and who's the mom?
No, so
Ryder.
Hopper's storyline is so depressing. I do not want to see a prequel. Basically,
with his daughter dying of cancer.
No, in the 60s when they're in high school.
He's in the Vietnam War. No, he's in the Vietnam War. He gets exposed to Agent Orange.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has PTSD. He finally meets the woman to save him, and they try to have a kid. It doesn't happen. And then he goes full PSD drunk, and then becomes a sheriff, which I feel is how most cops get their jobs here in America. But I do not want to watch that.
Yeah,
that
doesn't sound fun to me at all. Unlike A Nightmare on FaceTime. Which is the South Park episode you're referring to. Forrest, season 16, episode 12. The boys are excited to go trick-or-treating dressed as Avengers. So that's right, fans. You know what that means? We're going to fucking talk about this on the next episode of the podcast, A Nightmare on FaceTime. But Stan is unable to come because Randy has bought a Blockbuster Video franchise location in South Park. So this sounds amazing. We're definitely going to talk about this. I'm going to make all of you guys watch it. A Nightmare on FaceTime. We saw
it 5 years ago.
And you're going to see it in 5 minutes.
I've seen it a lot. Yeah, I've seen it a long time ago. But
I'm about to watch Better Call Saul when they do the encore at 10. Yeah.
So I will say this. 30-second overall impression. Robbie, how did you feel about this season of Stranger Things?
I liked it. I think they broke it up at a good point to kind of make you wonder but they also give you a nice good reveal right at the end of it. I liked how they did that. Yeah, it was a little different how they threw like a whole movie episode at you.
Right.
Major 30-second review.
I think this is the epitome of television, and I think this does so many things right. Right? We have left the 43 minute template, and Stranger Things said, we have a story to tell, and we want to tell it like this, and we don't care how fucking long it takes us to tell it. We're going to tell it. And if it takes us an hour and 5 minutes, an hour and 7 minutes, or 2 hours and 30 minutes, we're going to tell it. Did they tell that story perfectly? I'm not sure. Right? And that's not what they didn't tell that story perfectly at all. I am sure they didn't tell that story perfectly. But what they did do is break the mold, and I'm excited to see what comes next for the Duffer Brothers.
Forrest, 30-second review.
Yeah, this was the best season since season 1, in my opinion. I enjoyed season 2.
Agree.
I enjoyed season 2 and 3, but I thought they were just a rehash of the first season. But they leaned too much into the silly side. But this season was a lot more serious. Still some funny moments, but a lot darker.
Terrible dialogue.
A lot darker. I like how they had a more humanized villain than the Mind Flayer. I don't like that they retconned that the Mind Flayer was created by Vecna. I mean, I surprised there was still 30 minutes after they beat Vecna. I was like, really?
Was it created by Vecna or taken over by Vecna?
But overall thoughts, I really enjoyed this season much more than the last 2 ones. And
Matt, what about you? Wrap us up.
I will say this: 10-15 years down the road, in film school, you'll be studying this season of Stranger Things because they did so much right.
Breaking the mold.
Breaking the mold in so many ways.
So well.
But what you will learn also is about, just like when we refer to movies back in the 70s and 80s that are in film school, about like what didn't work. And so while it broke the mold and it's going to set a new standard, there are still flaws. And it's frustrating because they could have been addressed. Like, what's the whole point of 11 having the adversaries in the first few episodes?
Right. These aren't new flaws. These are flaws from the 80s. These are television trope flaws from the 80s that have seeped their way into Stranger Things in 2022.
Yep. So I definitely think that overall I am happy and I love this season because you don't even have to turn off your brain. You can enjoy it. But like I've been saying all episode, you can enjoy it. You can cry in front of your wife and all that. But at the end of the day, when you think about it for more than a few minutes, you're like, it did have its flaws. And I definitely think overall, they are setting the standard with this show consistently. And that is kind of my 30-second review. Love it.
Can I mention one thing that I want to talk about the whole episode, and I want to talk about since I went online after watching this, and I saw the internet get torn asunder with the specific scene, because I would be remiss if we finished up the podcast and I mentioned my 2 thoughts about this, my 2 cents. The scene in the van with the B team, Will, Mike, John, whatever, and Elle as they're going, and Argyle as they're going to the pizza shop. They don't know it's a pizza shop yet. They're heading to Hawkins or whatever, right? And like Will is opening up to Mike, and Mike, who used to be this incredibly empathetic person who would always save Will, and like the previous seasons, he was always like as Will says, Mike's the heart of the group, right? But Mike is super standoffish to Will opening up to him in the car. He's like, oh, that's cool, thanks. And everyone's like, oh, this is a terrible scene. But I think this is Mike knowing that Will is gay and wanting to preserve the friendship by not acknowledging that Will has a huge crush on Mike. So I don't think this is bad acting or bad writing. I think this is like a perfect portrayal of being a 14-year-old boy. I have not heard
that before, but I love that interpretation.
Right? Like, I think because like in season 3, like Will, like Mike yells at Will, he's like, sorry, it's not my fault, you don't like boys, like, or you don't like girls, right? Like so there's these hints that Will's gay, and there's these hints that Mike knows that or thinks that Will's gay. And so I just think like Will's being like super standoffish to try to preserve the friendship, or Mike's being super standoffish to try to preserve the friendship. And that's just an opinion I haven't heard online yet, so I wanted to vocalize it real fast.
And I think one of the dissatisfaction I had with that scene was I thought that in episode 9, he would come out, and it's like, why plant the seed if we're not going to have this major character reveal? But at the same time, too, it's already a 2.5 hour episode. Him coming out would be way too much.
I think next season there's going to be like a love interest for him, like Robin had this season. Did y'all like the in season with her and the redhead chick?
Yeah, the little. That was like tacked on. Like I would say for like this, like you remember that nerdy like anchor, like the news kid that died in the street or whatever. Like he had some kind of past where he had gotten someone killed in a car accident. Like there are like all these subplot threads that are just dangling in the wild, which they would need 10 episodes to wrap up. And I'm glad they didn't care. But at the same time, like, why open it up if you're not going to like digest it a little bit further?
So you bring up a great point, and I want to end this with this question.
Okay.
How many side shows are going to be made from Stranger Things?
None. I don't think the Duffer Brothers are going to do it.
The way Game of Thrones is working, you don't think there's going to be another, like, hey, these characters over here have their own show?
If they didn't kill off most of the other special characters, right? Like if, let's say, number 3 escapes and she could have her own Stranger Things adventure in like Aurora, Minnesota, then cool. But I think since they killed off most of the special kids, I think you're gonna put a nice bow on season 5, and I don't think they're gonna overstay their welcome.
I don't know. I mean, as long as they introduce like other supernatural elements besides just the Upside Down, then yeah. But I don't want to see another show where they're fighting the Upside Down again.
I don't know if it's the 90s. I'd be in for Stranger Things.
Even still, even still, it's just gonna be like it's gonna be like more of the same. So, this season was different enough to where I still enjoyed it. It was like it's still the Upside Down and stuff. But I don't know.
A quick aside, in the episode in which they're at the when they're working at the equivalent of a Blockbuster, they look up all the Ricks, and Rick Sanchez.
You see Rick Sanchez on there? Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, anachronism. All right. Well, Major, you want to plug our social media?
Absolutely. What do you guys think about Stranger Things? I personally wanted to make a podcast as long as the last episode, but I was voted down in the pre-recording. So tweet at us at Zealot Podcast if you wanted a 2.5 hour podcast covering a 2.5 hour movie, or if you thought that we pulled it off better than the Stranger Things finale and cut it off at an appropriate time. Let us know. If you enjoyed this episode, you can find more episodes just like this from your favorite place where you get your podcasts. And if you thoroughly enjoyed Stranger Things or this podcast, give us a 5-star review. That's right. I'm totally okay with you giving Stranger Things Season 4 a 5-star review on our podcast, because that's how much I like the season. Give it a 5-star review on Yelp. I don't care. Thanks so much for listening, guys.
Yeah. I'm Forrest.
I'm Major.
Now I'm Robbie.
And even though I don't have pizza, I am Matt.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. Go and get something to munch on.
Bye, guys.